with Nikita Garg, who's been one of the consistent mooters of UILS, Punjab University. And Nikita, how does it feel to have won Intramoot in the first year, and that too by beating all the seniors?
It was just unbelievable because I participated in it not to win though, but just because my friend asked me to. And it was like we were just doing it, going round after round, and we never realized that yes, we've reached the finals and we've actually had we won by beating our seniors who were rather more experienced in mooting. And the best part of mooting is that it just didn't teach me how to go about law, how to give in your interpretation to laws, but it also gave me the best friend of my college in college. So yes, mooting has a very special place in my life.
Okay, so since the first year until now, till the fourth year, you've done a lot of moots. So what would be what have you learned and how have you grown because of mooting and all the competitions that you've done till now?
See, the first thing I feel is that as a mooter, considering you're not a lawyer but you are a mooter in that case, so when you have to speak regarding any issue or any issue at hand from any of the sides, just speak to your heart's content, as in you have to prove something and go in length and breadth to prove it. You don't have to speak to prove it to the judges, but to prove it to yourself, and I'm sure then there's no looking back.
Okay, so you've done a lot of different type of competitions like mooting and trial advocacy.
I've done one trial advocacy, but which made me realize it is not meant for me though. Yeah.
Okay, so basically
I did this Surana and Surana trial advocacy this year though, and but that didn't really come up well, as has already been told by my various classmates and all the faculty all the MCS members, that it is a choice for you to make, and that is what it helps you with. So probably I'm better at mooting, which is a stage probably which if we related to that in High Court or Supreme Court, but not the trial phase of the same.
Okay, so you prefer mooting over trial advocacy?
Yes, certainly.
Okay, so some experience or some sort of moment that you actually look back to, like in mooting, can you share that with us?
There was this, while I had to go for this trial advocacy, I was just asking one of our seniors, so how to go about it. So there was this one line which he said, which is still fixed in my heart, that he said that only in reference to a moot, how to go about preparation for a moot. Either you have to win the moot or you have to win a case. So when you have to win a moot, you need to see all the criterions how you're going to be judged by a moot. If you see the court of life, which is out there in courts, High Court, Supreme Court, trial court, you might end up winning the case. But if you bring back the same to your law school, you might end up losing the moot. So that is the line, distinction which you have to draw and which you have to learn, that you have to accept in life. Yes, there is a distinction, a very thin line though, but yes, it is.
Okay, so do you give your credits to some senior in the college for your mooting career?
I come from totally a non-legal background, so considering that how my mooting started, I would like to give a credit to one of my friend's grandfather. Had it not been him, had it not been his support, his constant guidance and constantly telling me that I am good and I can do it better, I would have never reached here. So yes, I really give entire credit to whatever I have done so far to him.
So mooting,
he's a lawyer too.
Okay. So mooting is like a big challenge for people. So how do you suggest people to go about it? How to handle things while you're mooting, like the stress thing, the time management and everything?
There are two very essential parts of a moot which sets it apart from real life scenario. The first is that a proceeding might go on for years, 10 years, 20 years. But here you need to win it in what, 40 minutes? Yes, 40 minutes. If I say otherwise it might be like an hour or so. So in those 40 minutes time period, you need to tell your facts, you need to tell your legal issues at hand, you need to cite cases, and you need to win. You need to win. So obviously, definitely there's time management, and second being you come up as a team. So if you don't gel much, maybe even if you are very good mooter, maybe on that day you are not very effective, you don't come across very effective, because as a team you couldn't really manage well. So teamwork is really essential.
Okay. So some other tips for the budding mooters? Some final tips.
All I would say is it's never too late to do a moot. So even if you are considering I am in 4th year, and even if you are in 4th year, or even if a 5th year student, do one moot, because it is definitely a very essential element of your law school. And otherwise, how would you tell anybody, probably your children also, that yes, in my school life, in my law school career, I did a moot.
Okay. Thank you so much. Okay. Hi everyone. Today I'm here with the convener and the co-convener of the MCA Society, the Moot Court Society of UILS Punjab University, Anirudh Bhatia and Anirudh Nanda. Unfortunately, the president of the MCAs could not be here with us today. So I'll start with Anirudh Nanda. So can you please tell me why would a person opt for trial advocacy?
Yeah, so I believe that trial advocacies respect more courtroom demeanor than any normal moot court competition. Because in trial advocacies, when we go out there are certain procedures which are followed in a manner wherein in toto which are being followed in a real courtroom. So when we go out there with the opening statement, we do actually go out there and do examination in chief, cross-examination, and then we go out there and closing statements. And I believe that in trial advocacies, your spontaneity, which is required to be as an advocate, is important. Because the reason being, when you have to go out there and cross-examine a person on the spot, wherein yes, this person can also get hostile, this person can also give out facts which are not related with the case. So the spontaneity, which is imperative, which is important that a lawyer should have, all these skills, you hone your skills when you do trial advocacies. And also I believe when you connect sections, as in if there is suppose section 302, which is related to murder, and we talk about it with the circumstantial evidence, how you cater to the needs of a moot proposition, you connect facts, and which I believe is any day much more important and helps you improve you as a lawyer than a normal moot court competition.
Okay.
Yeah.
So basically you say that the trial advocacy is more relatable to the practical aspect than the mooting act.
True, yeah.
Okay. So Anirudh, will you please tell me something about arbitration, like why arbitration?
Arbitration is an essential part of the alternate dispute resolution pattern of the legal system that we have in India. It's increasingly becoming popular. Even the high courts are recommending, and of course there are independent agencies, especially if you want to go into a corporate culture. Most of their disputes are resolved through arbitration. An arbitration is a formal proceeding where there is an arbitrator and the lawyers and the parties are on either side of the table, and they resolve their disputes. It's faster than going to court, and it's also quite cheaper. But as far as the student culture goes, you really get to see that other side which you would not ordinarily get to see during even your classes or when you discuss case. This is a totally practical aspect, and in today's world it's totally viable. Also, like he said, trial advocacy represents the trial court, moot courts, our high court, supreme court. This is totally out of court, alternate dispute resolution. Along with arbitration, you sometimes have things like mediation, which is more of an informal proceeding, but all of these things are really catching up in India today. So I feel it's very important for all students to know what is out there as an option for them to do in the future.
Okay, so basically mooting is the one that is completely stressed upon right now. So are arbitration, like doing arbitration, trial advocacy, mediation and negotiation, are these as important? Like, is it necessary for a student to do it once, like mooting? They say that mooting is something very necessary.
So yes, I believe that it's very important. You know what? Because if we don't do moot court competitions, we do not do trial advocacies. So we are actually left with the theory aspect, which is not useful as much when we go out there in the real world. What happens in the real world, we are acquainted with that in exactly during a college days only. So if I'm doing a moot, I actually get to know that in which thing I'm more comfortable. So if I'm doing research, I know that yes, I'm a good researcher and I can find facts. Or to the other side, and there's other phase to it. Like yes, I can draft well. While I'm making my memorial, I get to know that yes, I can draft well. And there's other aspect that either you can research or you can speak. So there are people you actually get to know that in which position you are more comfortable with, which helps you out in the real world, that what you need to do. So I believe it's very important.
I absolutely agree with him, because even moot courts, they're not as related to what happens in Indian courts these days. That was how they were originally formed, and it's much more chaotic. Moot court doesn't necessarily refer to a moot court, because these days even competitions, including trial advocacies, come under the heading. When we say moot court, we mean all of these extracurriculars which are related to the practical aspect. And like he said, if you as a student may not be able to figure out whether you're good at researching, whether you're good at speaking, some people are better at arbitration mediation than they would ever be at moot court, because it's a different situation. So I personally feel, to find out what you're going to do in the future and to get a real taste of what law is in the real world, you need to do these competitions, all of them.
Yeah, because there's also this perception that when you complete your law, you go out there and then you figure out what you need to do. So the gestation period actually goes out to like when you start law, and when you actually start practicing law, it becomes out to be like 10 years. But when you start doing mooting in your early college days, you get acquainted with how you need to go about it, what you need to do, and what should be a future course of action. So if I do a moot, if I find myself not comfortable there, I know that yes, it's not my place. I don't need to put my time here. So I'll put my energies, I'll channelize my energies in somewhere else, which will actually help me in future.
So what are all the options you have, like mooting, trial advocacy, arbitration, and
Negotiation, mediation, conciliation.
Client counseling.
Client counseling.
client counseling? These
Yeah.
are the 7 aspects. So
Yeah.
all of them are equally important.
Equal.
Yeah,
It basically which massages your ego, or it is like in whichever thing you feel more comfortable, right? Like if you're comfortable in mediation, you go for it. It's important what you want to do. As in, if I don't feel comfortable in trial advocacy, then I'm also good in solving problems, I'll go for mediation. So it's like that.
And it's not just on an Indian or a national level basis. You have arbitration competitions internationally, and you have moot court competitions internationally. So it's a global aspect, and it's emerging.
Okay. So there are a lot of colleges, like we have a MCS to help out people, but there are a lot of colleges which do not have a mooting society or do not have a good mooting culture. Like there's hardly one person who's indulged in mooting. So how important do you think a moot court society is for a college?
I think a moot court society is essential for every law college, because and if I refer to our moot court society, we have about 28-30 members, out of which 3 are core, and then we divide the work. It is important because no one person can keep track of all the moots that are happening, and then find a suitable procedure to send the students, the best of the best, to these competitions so that they can learn and they can win, and then they can come back. These things cannot be done without a formal society and without a formal proceeding. The procedure has to be established by a moot court society present. Yes, you should have a faculty head who is supportive indeed, and then it's basically the onus still lies on the students, because they are the ones who are actually interested at the end of the day.
And the other part is that when you form a fraternity within your college, what helps is that we know that if there are 28 to 30 people in this moot court society, we actually know if we are in a problem, where should we go. So if suppose I'm going in a particular moot and we don't have a moot court society, I don't know whom should I contact. And if there's a moot court society, we have 28 to 30 people who are approachable, whom we can go and look up to, and we can go to them and ask them, this is our issue and how to deal it. So it's basically when people who have the same mindset get together, they give out intellectual ideas which can be followed. As recently we started this mentorship program. So what we did, experienced mooters are helping the budding mooters, for the first timers and second timers, so as to train them and tell them this is how you need to go about it. Because if you train them earlier before going to the moot, it's any day better.
And a lot of them have done phenomenally. First time mooters have gone and won as well, because their seniors guided them, and there was a lot of help on that front.
Right. So now after this, could you share some experience, some moment which actually motivated you enough that you actually went for trial advocacies or arbitration or mooting again? Like that would actually be good for them.
Yeah, so recently I was participating in this 7th SVKM PGCL trial advocacy. So I was in quarterfinals round. There I was being judged by public prosecutors who were engaged by CBI. So this trial went on for like 9 hours, and there when we cross-examined, when the other party, the defense, cross-examined our witnesses, all the witnesses broke down. And after 8 hours of conducting trial, we actually had nothing in our case. So the prosecution case did not support us, the defense case was against us, and after that we got 15 minutes to prepare our closing statements. So that was the time when I actually realized that yes, this is the time wherein whatever I've learned, whatever I've been through, and whatever I've learned in my classes, how I need to witch hunt those small words, those small pieces of pillar, which would actually help me to build my case. So these are some moments wherein you are put in a situation, wherein you will be put in the situation in real life world as well. So you are being put in the situation much earlier, like I'm in third year right now. In third year, we are being acquainted with such a situation. You go out there, you have 15 minutes to prepare your closing statement, and you go out there and speak for 40 minutes your closing statement. So I believe that was a particular moment in my life, in my mooting career, wherein I found out that yes, whatever amount of effort I'm putting in, it will help me in future, and yes, I need to go about it for further as well. Yeah.
I think my experience where I decided that mooting was really for me even after my intra-moot was when I was giving my elimination for my first national moot. And as a second year student, I still hadn't studied IPC. And the fact that after that I even read IPC, reading it, murder, difference between murder and dowry death, 300 and 302, it is boring just to read. But when you apply it to a particular fact of the case, and this was based on a real case, Kundula Balasubramaniam versus State of Andhra Pradesh, when you apply it to that, it becomes more interesting. And then it is ingrained in your brain forever. So I felt that I would learn the law more, I would be able to communicate it better if I indulge in this practice. Classes are of course important, they are your basis, but if you don't apply that knowledge, you will forget it. But once you've applied it, once you put it into practice, it will remain with you for a period of time.
Some final words.
His catchphrase.
Either you win or you learn. All the very best.
Thank you. So now that I'm done interviewing the finest mooters of the university, I really hope their suggestions and experiences motivate you to do mooting. I would just sum up the tips for you. Firstly, it increases your confidence. It increases it a lot. And secondly, you actually learn how to use your brain in a way that you can defend the case from both the sides. You have to do a lot of brainstorming for that. And thirdly, teamwork, right? So you learn how to keep aside your egos and adjust with each other for achieving something. And lastly, it teaches you things that a book can never do. So go out, get there and do mooting and get some real good experiences of your own. And as one of the mooters said, either you win or you learn. And with this, I wave a goodbye. Happy mooting!